Joe Pietaro here with your Muscle Sport Minute for today, and this episode is brought to you by tmichael.com. That's TMICHEAL.com. Great bodybuilding apparel. Also want to do a quick shout out to my buddy Dave over at CamericaMuscle.com. He sent me this really cool t-shirt, hashtag Superhero Strong. Dave is a big supporter of the magazine and also a subscriber. I just want to say hi and thanks again for this beautiful shirt, Dave. Hey, listen, thanks also to Christian Duke from StrengthAddicts.com for joining us yesterday on the Greg and Joe Show podcast. And we had an interesting topic I'll touch base on a little bit now. Basically, Christian put a video out saying that the celebrities, the YouTubers, whatever you want to call it, they're kind of infringing on the bodybuilding industry a little bit, and these guys aren't pros and stuff like that, and it's what's the good and bad things of it. And a lot of what I was saying during our conversation yesterday on the program was that bodybuilders and bodybuilding kind of did this to itself. And the guys that, the YouTubers, for lack of a better term, will use that, they saw an opening and they took it, and they're fucking smart. And I'm seeing the same type of opening because I'm covering those fucking guys in our magazine. Well, Bleckman just keeps putting Victor's glutes in the same fucking bullshit stories over and over again. But, so I'm all for those guys. The Boston Lloyds, the Rich Pianas of the world. Fucking, I love it. Jerry Wards. Keep them coming, baby. I'll keep fucking covering them because they're more interesting. So, basically, my argument was, it wasn't really an argument, it was a fun discussion. And Christian is a fan of Boston's. He likes Rich Piana. He likes both of them. He likes all of these guys. He was saying, like, the Louis Marcos of the world kind of, they're kind of talking a lot about other guys in the industry and what have they done type of thing. Well, I took it, the other side a little bit, and I was just like, well, the bodybuilding, first of all, the industry fucked itself when they did exclusive contracts and you couldn't speak to a bodybuilder unless you worked for that magazine he was signed to. And obviously, the money was good for these guys, and it was a smart financial move, and the publishers, I guess, thought it was a good idea. I thought it was fucking terrible, and I still do. Even when I worked for those companies, even when I worked for Flex and then later MD, I thought it was retarded that we could only speak to certain guys and they can only speak to certain guys and we can never speak to each other's guys. And with Muscle Sport Mag, I had to kind of be a little coy with my quotes. When I would get these guys to give me some quotes, I had to, I had to ascertain it in other ways. But that'll be subject of another video one time. But Robbie Durand, who when I started working with him for Flex, was very impressed when I told him how I got some quotes from IFBB pros over the years in person when I wasn't supposed to be allowed to talk to them, even with a press pass hanging around my neck that said Muscle Sport Magazine. But so basically, bodybuilding did that to itself, where you couldn't talk to these guys, so only certain people could talk to them. And then also you got to remember, these guys are not very exciting. They don't lead very, very exciting lives for the most part. They're kind of, they eat, sleep, shit, and work out. That's pretty much what they do. At least the really successful guys, that's kind of what you have to do. You can't go on fucking crazy vacations and do all of this wild stuff and post it all over social media because you're not doing it anyway. You kind of just, and even if you start putting their gym stuff, it gets old fast. That's fucking boring. So, if it's fucking, looking at a figure girl and Nicole Wilkins going to the gym and sweating, that's different. I'm going to tune in. And I could care less about the fucking triceps maneuver she's doing. Who gives a fuck about that? I'm looking at a fucking whole package over there. But so basically, those guys did it to themselves, and with the help of the publishers and the industry itself, by just kind of keeping them, you couldn't speak to them, you couldn't know anything about them, and only they can only let out the information they wanted to, their respective contract, publication, and so people got tired of that, and then they were fucking, like I said, boring. So now other guys came out, guys like Rich Piana and stuff like that, and people were like, wow, these guys are real. They're not, they're telling you we take steroids. They're telling you we take insulin. They're telling you they fucking put the synthol and all of this other shit and PMMA and all of this other stuff in their bodies. Where the pros are, oh yeah, I use this fucking protein bar. And, come on, get the fuck out of here, bro. So it was really an easy get. And it's like, also with the explosion of social media, it was like the perfect storm for it to be where these guys were able to get a huge following, and then fucking use it to their advantage by just going nuts on social media. And obviously the more successful ones like Rich Piana, he had the money to fucking have huge expo booths and stuff like that. And it was easy for him to just, become like a celebrity, a superstar. Longer lines than fucking every Mr. Olympia in that fucking place, maybe except for Arnold. It might be the only one who gets more people doing the Pied Piper when he walks around in Columbus. So that's that's my take on it, at least, is that these guys were able to take advantage of a fucking situation that was ripe for the taking. And the pros basically got left behind in the dust. And they're not going to make it up now. And I think if you have a guy like Phil Heath, and he does a lot of social media and posts, he probably could pick up huge following. But he doesn't do it. Why don't these guys do it? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. That's up for them. They have to answer that. And I don't interview them anymore. I really don't give a fuck, I interview the fucking guys like Boston Lloyds of the world. They're more fun to interview. So somebody can say, well, you're a journalist. Why don't you ask him? I don't give a shit. I'll ask somebody if I fucking see him at an expo or something. I really don't care, though. But the answer is, hey, speaking of Rich Piana, you could read him in every issue of Muscle Sport Mag. Just subscribe, $32 a year, free shipping in the United States. MuscleSportMag.com/subscribe. See you next time.